Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast, the world's #1 indie game developer interview podcast. Probably, although definitely, given today's guest, I think it's going to propel us to new heights, amazing new places. Joining us this week is Alex Rushdy, creator of Dawn of the Monsters, a manga-inspired, side-scrolling kaiju co-op beat-em-up. Alex, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
Thanks for having me. It's going well.
Yeah, you guys showed this game to the world, and I was like, oh, I gotta talk about this. This is like my childhood brought to life. All of my fantasies are happening at one time. I do want to ask you, though, before we get into the nitty-gritty here, the brass tacks, as it were, how do you resist not making every character look like Godzilla when you're making this thing? That's all I would do. Just draw King Kong and Godzilla for the entire thing.
Well, it was like that was a whole process. The character design process took so long. But I think we have a guest.
Oh, shut up. Is he here?
He's here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We're like already recording and you're like gonna interrupt the show.
No, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you're recording because now everyone could know what's happening. I fucked up my computer, ladies and gentlemen, and I have no Windows operating system.
Steven Fontana is hijacking the show with his bullshit.
See, this is what I was saying. Computers are haunted.
Yeah. So I've had a much faster solid state drive than the current solid state drive I've been using. It's been installed, but I never switched my operating system to it. So I went to do that today and destroyed my computer. So I am now reinstalling Windows from a USB drive that I had to basically put together with duct tape and glue. So I do apologize for that. Maybe, we'll hang out at another time, but enjoy the rest of your time with Andy. He's a good person. You're in good hands. And I love you, and listeners and viewers, thank you for watching and listening. And as always, be excellent to each other.
Oh, look at that. So sweet.
Thanks for popping in.
Look at that. It's all downhill from here. It won't get any better than that.
You might as well stop listening now.
Yeah. It's way too. I'm gonna cut all that out, by the way. It's not gonna make it in the actual show. But you were saying before you were so rudely interrupted, Alex.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to stay on this podcast with how things are going so far. No, when we started designing the monsters, which is a long time ago, we were like, okay, we want to have monsters that or characters that evoke classic kaiju and classic tokusatsu tropes, but we don't want them to be like, oh, this is just a knockoff, or this is just like lawyer friendly versions of those characters.
Right.
So obviously Megadon is like, he's like a dinosaur, he's very Godzilla like in that sense, but we wanted to make sure that the design had its own interest and its own characteristics that would make it unique. And then that extended to the other characters as well. Like we have a character that's clearly inspired by Ultraman.
Yep.
But, he's got his own aesthetic and his own color scheme, his own proportions and all that stuff. And then the crab monster, Ganira, is kind of like, I love insect kaiju or like crustacean kaiju, especially. So she's not really inspired by a specific monster, but kind of just like that genre of monster. Just kind of that was, I think, more of the concept is like there are different categories of monsters. Honestly, the only one that I think is missing from the cast is the big monkey. So maybe for Dawn of the Monsters 2 or for DLC or something, we'll do the big monkey because our bases are pretty well covered.
On the topic of big monkeys, King Kong versus Godzilla, is that even a fight? You have one breathes radioactive fire, death laser beams at you, and one's covered in fur. I don't know how that's even a matchup that makes sense.
Monkey smart, man.
Monkey smart, yeah, but monkey burn.
Monkey have monkey brain. Okay. You watch the movie, you see that monkey, he figures things out pretty quick. In the original one, in the like 60s one, they were just like, you know what? Give him lightning powers. And then he gets lightning powers halfway through the movie. And they're like,
God.
Monkey's strong.
Monkey is now the god of thunder.
Yeah.
You ever see the sequel to the American one when he gets like a heart transplant? Remember that one?
Yes. Wow. King Kong Lives. That movie is insane.
Oh, it was always on Channel 11 growing up for some reason. Just like that, they would pull his like fucked up heart out. It was like this giant thing on this crane.
Yeah, and it was Linda Hamilton, right?
Yeah,
she was operating on Kong. They have like a crane come in and yank out his heart. They give him a new one.
Oh God, I love it.
I love that movie got made.
Yeah,
someone looked over that script and was like, "Yeah, sure, fuck it. Like, have King Kong eat a hillbilly. I'm in. Yeah, I'm into it.
Definitely, I'm into it." So let's kind of walk through the genesis of this project. How does one go from a game like Runbow to Dawn the Monsters? Walk us through the creative process of how this came to be.
Well, it was a bit of a long time coming. I'm a huge fan of Kaiju, and I always have been since I was a little kid. And I always thought it would make a great video game. And there were some great monster video games, but it had been few and far between, especially in the later 2000s and 2010s. So Rumbo was wrapping up, and we were looking for next projects. And one of the ideas that we had was a kind of a giant monster wrestling fighting game. So it was a little more like a 4-player party game initially. And we made a prototype of it. And we played around with a bunch of different concepts and stuff and marketing, branding. So this would have been around 2016, 2017. And we took all those materials around to like every publisher that we could find. And everyone was like, this looks really cool. I love giant monsters. We're not going to pay for this game. So after...
What a dick.
That was everyone. They were like, we love this. We're not going to pay for it though. Oh, okay. So after about, and then part of that was because making a fighting game is really tough. It's a very difficult genre to make games in, and most publishers are just terrified of the fighting game genre because anytime a new fighting game comes out, they think, and maybe rightly so, they're competing with Street Fighter and Tekken and Mortal Kombat, and they're just like, we can't compete with those guys. And I get that. I mean, hell, like, it's hard to be a new fighting game, even just the number of characters. When a game like Smash Bros exists with like 80 characters right in the box, that's, I mean, people don't understand. That was developed over like 2 decades of development time because each iteration there. So nowadays, launching a fighting game, launching with 8 characters is already a shit ton of work and money. And a lot of people will be like, 8 characters? Yeah, no thanks. I'll wait until it's on sale on Steam for 30 cents. So like making a fighting game is already hard. And it's filled with like fighting against other fighting games for people's attention is tough. So what we did is we took that project and we put it on the back burner. And we said, you know what, maybe we'll revisit that another day. And we worked on a game called Double Cross. And so Double Cross took, I think we started in 2017 and we finished the end of 2018. But we had kind of spent too much time and money on other prototypes. And anyways, Double Cross ended up coming out, but like not quite finished. And we had to patch in a bunch of stuff. It was a bit of a nightmare to finish that game, but it came out. And I think it's pretty cool. But after that, we kind of wanted, because Double Cross is like a single player only type of game. we wanted to look back like, okay, well, we really like multiplayer, and we really, we're actually into the idea that we had with Dawn of the Monsters. Why don't we take another crack at it, get some government grants, but this time let's shift it from being, instead of being a fighting game, what if we made it like a co-op beat 'em up? And the more we thought about that idea, the better it sounded, because it's fun to have fighting. Like, I love fighting games, but if I'm playing with like a friend who's not good at fighting games, like they're just going to have a rough time, right? Like I'm just going to destroy them over
kick
and over.
Their ass.
I'm going to kick their ass. I'm not going to hold back. You kidding me?
I hold back sometimes out of that same fear. I have friends who are like kind of okay. So I'll win like 2 matches. I'll lose 3 or 4.
Yeah,
all right, get their confidence back up. Then I'll kick their ass. But yeah, continue. I get it.
Yeah. So there's that. So we were like, well, I mean, co-op is a little friendlier. And on top of that, if it's co-op, you can be like, or if it's players versus enemies, you can be ripping through hordes of enemies, which sounds fun. Like, Dynasty Warriors meets Godzilla is like, well, yeah, why hasn't this been made yet? Streets of Rage meets Ultraman. Why hasn't this been made yet?
These are all great questions.
Yeah. And then we were like, well, and then you could also be smashing through cities, because any kaiju fighting game, very quickly the city gets destroyed, and then it's just like a barren landscape. Or they'll reset it between rounds, so like buildings will magically reappear. So the more we thought about it, we were like, actually, it would be super fun to be able to sit down with my friend and just smash a city to bits and, blow other monsters to smithereens. And we decided to start working on that. And the only game that was similar to this that we could find was probably King of the Monsters 2. That was on like Neo Geo and Super Nintendo, because it was mostly a fighting game, but it had co-op, and you could go through these little sections where you'd smash cities. So, we just started working with that in mind. So we had the new game design down, and then we're like, what graphically we want to offer something different. We want to offer something unique visually, because most giant monster games, they try to look pretty realistic, which makes sense. But we wanted to offer something that even if you aren't a fan of monsters, you might look at this game and go, ooh, like that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty slick. So we decided to base it kind of off of monster movie posters.
Oh,
that are
wow.
kind of more illustrative.
Yeah.
And manga and comic books. And so that was actually the thing. So the new gameplay partnered with the new visuals. We took it to a bunch of publishers, and immediately we were in a meeting with Way Forward. We were working with them on some other projects that had wrapped up, and they were like, we want to keep working with you. We have a couple of projects we want to show you. And so we were in this meeting, and Way Forward was like, here's one project we could do together. Here's another project. And I was like, hey, if you don't mind, we have something that we've been working on kind of in the background. Do you want to see it? And they were like, yeah, sure, let's see it. And then, almost immediately they were like, actually, we want you to work on that.
Oh, that's so dope.
Yeah, they were super supportive from like day one. They thought it was a great idea. And we signed up with them. Because we're kind of like their first major publishing project. They published a game called Mystic Bell. But this one, they've like invested money, and it's kind of part of the normal publishing cycle with them. So we partnered up with them in 2019 and, got into full steam ahead development. And here we are. And then COVID-19 happened. Super exciting.
Oh my
stuff
God.
happened.
Yeah, right when you like sealed the deal, it's all ready to go, ready to start production.
We were like having an end of 2019, we were partying, and then beginning of 2020, we're like, ooh, all right, okay.
Now, did it impact your team? Because I feel like on the indie side, a lot of folks tend to work remotely as it is. Do you guys have an office space you all kind of gathered, or was it just when the pandemic hit?
We did.
Business as usual. Oh, okay.
We did have an office. We had been working from an office. I mean, we had always had an office. We never worked remote. So when the pandemic hit, we all went to work from home pretty quickly. And we had actually, honestly, we had intended to go back to the office at some point. And we had talked to the landlord to be like, hey, our lease is coming up soon, like our lease renewal. We can't go in the office now because of the global pandemic.
Right.
But if we can like cut a deal until we can go back in full time, we're happy to keep the spot, right? And they were just like, they were pretty much like, either we get all your money or we get none. And we were like, okay, you get none. And
sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. And so we've just moved fully to work from home. And like it was a tough transition for sure, but honestly, I think it's like maybe one step back, two steps forward. You know, it's people are able to better manage their work-life balance. They're able to better, I don't know, manage their schedules. It's worked out pretty well, and we're still navigating it and trying to figure out how to do it best moving forward. But the plan is to stick to this for good.
Yeah, I feel like working from home for me, because now I'm back in the office full time, but I worked harder when I was at home, because if my physical body is in an office, it has the illusion of someone working. Like, well, he's at his desk, he must be working, right? He's doing something over there. While I'm watching, like, you know, Netflix for like 6 hours of the day and answering to emails. And the biggest challenge is what's for lunch that day.
Yeah.
When I'm at home, I feel like I have to prove my worth somehow because I'm not there. So I'll work harder because, you know, this is what happens. It's a weird knockoff effect. But when you were describing the game, it's kind of like what I wanted Rampage to always be. Like being able to do more than just scale a tall building and knock it down, then go on to the next. It's just that side scrolling effect of it, like just going through a large city and beating up a bunch of shit. Sounds incredible to me.
Thanks. And yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? Like Rampage, like there's actually no shortage of kaiju video games. Like I did a panel on this. And I talked about how there's just so many kaiju video games. There's a lot across multiple genres. But like the co-op kaiju beat 'em up, which seems like, hey, that's the, like, if I was to watch a kaiju movie and then you were like, hey, what kind of game you'd make, it be either fighting game or beat 'em up, and like that one just like never materialized for whatever reason.
Does Dawn of Monsters have some of that it's fighting game origins in this? Are we doing like special combinations of buttons to do certain things, or just straight up like it just a beat 'em up traditional in every way?
I think some of that fighting game DNA comes through just in the depth of the combat. Like you can if you want, just like mash light attack, mash heavy attack, and you know, you can get decently far. But there's a lot of more fighting game style stuff you can do. Like there's a bunch of special attacks that you can do, and you can actually cancel them into each other. So like Megadon has this thing where he slams the ground and any enemies around him get knocked up into the air, and you can cancel that into his fire breath, which then like knocks them up into the air further. So that's like one quick combo you can figure out pretty early. But then it's like, you know, he has a punch where you can throw, and you can send enemies flying against the edge of the screen. If they hit it, they bounce off. They got that wall bounce effect. And so then you can juggle them in the air with a bunch of attacks. So the controls we tried to keep fairly easy to understand, but the amount that you can do with it, it's quite expressive.
Yeah, because I would think the hardest part is making the actual gameplay part of it feel as non-repetitive as possible. Because, you know, thinking of two recent examples in the beating up genre, Battletoads and Streets of Rage 4. Battletoads, I feel it was just lacking a lot in the moment-to-moment gameplay. And Streets of Rage 4 was like on a whole other level of fun, because it was all about, there was combos, there was canceling, there was moves, there was like an in-depth move list that you would find in a fighting game that was
Yeah.
now in a beat 'em up, and that's why it worked so well on the fun side.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like if a beat 'em up has deep enough combat that like you want a training room,
Yeah,
then like you're doing something right. Because
Yeah.
if the moment to moment combat has enough potential that like, you know, beating on one enemy for 20 minutes is interesting and you're discovering stuff and finding combos, then like it makes everything else stronger. And another thing that Streets of Rage does really well, and that we've paid a lot of attention to really differentiate us, is like the differences in the characters.
right.
So in Dawn of the Monsters, Megadon is like your all around brawler type. You know, he's pretty good at everything, but he's got a pretty high DPS. But then we've got characters like Tempest Galahad, which is the big robot with the gun, and she's got
The best
like
name ever.
ranged attacks. Thank you. So she can actually shoot enemies from a distance. She can gaddle them. She can throw them up into the air. She can plant mines, and then she can detonate those mines at any time. And she can also, she has this move called Reload, where you spend the rage, the energy, and she loads a bullet, and all of a sudden, like half of her moves are just changed. So if you have like bullets loaded, you can perform like it normally. If you don't have bullets loaded, you can perform her dash attack, which is a kick, kicks guys in the face, and that's it. But if it's loaded, when it hits, it blasts them across the arena and they bounce off of whatever they hit, you know. Or her mine normally is just an explosion, but if it's loaded, it sends up like a pillar of electricity, and then that electrocutes and stuns anything that's near it, and they just like freeze there for a bit. So it was really important that we added depth and tried to do stuff that like we'd never seen in beat 'em ups before. Like Ganira, the crab monster, she can summon a little minion, a little crab creature that can go around and fight for her. You know, she can just summon. It's like a little pet. And any of your you can equip augments that change your character's abilities. Anything that she equips, the crab has it too. So
oh my God.
There's just so much. There's a lot of fun combinations and potential just in swapping characters between missions.
By the way, I'm totally with you on the whole. If there's like a giant insect, crab, lobster creature, I'm all for it. Like for some reason, when I watched the old Godzilla films, anytime the big spider was on screen, I was like, show me more of the spider, please. That spider is the shit.
Great. Love it.
So what's the setup here? Yes, we're these giant monsters fighting other giant monsters. What's the story? What's happening in this world? What's going on?
So in the it's set in the like near-ish future of 2065.
Okay.
And the idea is that, you know, climate change, like unchecked climate change, doesn't just lead to, you know, bad weather and all those other terrible things, but also unearths monsters from the, you know, the bowels of the earth. So these monsters are called the Nephilim, and they start invading cities and nesting in them and taking them over. And to battle them, kind of the United Nations forms a organization called DAWN, the Defense Alliance Worldwide Network. And DAWN, you know, basically realizes in order to you need monsters to stop monsters. So they build a giant robot.
Yes.
They get a giant superhero guy, and they manage to control two of the Nephilim, the earliest Nephilim that first appeared. They managed to control them, and they build a team of like Kaiju Avengers. And so they orbit Earth in a space station called the Sunrise, and they blast these guys down to the planet to destroy the Nephilim as they appear. So you enter this, you know, they're kind of in the middle of a war by the time you enter the story, and they're finally like, we have enough power. We're going to take back the Earth from these ancient monsters and discover where they came from and why they exist.
And they were there the whole time hanging out, waiting for us to use
sleeping, resting.
A bunch of aerosol cans and just waiting for the time to emerge. I would
exactly it.
love for you to like go to some like hoity-toity like science thing and be like, this is about climate change, and just have like a demo of your game in the background rolling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I get invited, and there's just Megadon beating the tar out of a
Do a
giant
TED
monster.
talk about climate change and just talk about your game for an hour and a half.
I'm down. I'm down.
So we spoke a little before we started recording how this game is a lot further along than I had expected, because this was announced not too long ago, and I was like, that game looks awesome. And according to you, it's like kind of towards the end cycle, like it's getting to like the done stages.
Yeah, where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I think it'll still be a few months, but we're first half of 2022, it'll be out and ready to play. So we're right now just debugging and testing and then submitting to lot check, where we can get yelled at by Nintendo for not using the right Switch logo or something, or Microsoft can be like, yeah, that's not the right color of the Xbox Y button.
It's the wrong shade of yellow.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's the next step is once we finish debugging, then we submit it to that stuff to make sure that everything's hunky-dory, and then we announce a proper release date.
Is that the kind of shit you hear from them? Like, oh, the color, like the blue is not the right tint in the PlayStation.
Yeah. I mean, you can get in trouble for all sorts of stuff. Like, I remember way back on like the Wii U. I think we didn't capitalize the word Wii U properly, and that was a fail. Like yes, the
Wii U was a fail, but go on.
But that's just the fun of making video games, and for the most, like that stuff they look for. But for the most part, lot check is checking stuff to be like, hey, like if we run your game on a retail unit, does it catch fire? Like, does it destroy something? Does it do something terrible? Because that can happen where, once your game's running on a proper retail console, it can find all sorts of new ghosts and bugs and terrible things. So in case anyone from LotCheck is listening, thank you. You make our games better.
What was it like to return to this project after it was put on ice for a little bit? You released the whole of the game in that time, and now you've come back to it with a fresh set of eyes, and now it's almost done. What's that like for you as a developer?
It's surreal. I was really excited about that initial project when we started it, but it also, the process of pitching games to publishers is brutal. It's not like, it can be fun, but it can also be a grind. And honestly, by the time we'd finished all rounds of pitching, I was just like, ground down and sad. And I was like, let's just put this for another day. That's for future Alex to deal with.
Okay.
And so it was kind of cool when the opportunity came up. I'd given up hope for the project, and then years later, it was like, you know what? We could apply for a grant to make a prototype. This might be the time to bring this back. And that's what we did. And that was super cool. And now to have it almost be done is elating and also terrifying at the same time.
What is that process like, the whole grant application process? Like, what do you submit to get, like, okay, we're going to give you a pile of cash to make this fever dream of a game project?
I just scribble on a note. I say,
a cocktail napkin.
I wrote Big Monster Smash City ? I mail that to Justin Trudeau.
Got
Justin
it.
Trudeau looks at it and he goes, yeah. No,
this will do.
It's basically just a bunch of documents explaining the game in detail, but also explaining its market viability, justifying its market viability, explaining stuff like how it's going to help our company, how it's going to help the industry in Ontario or in Canada or things like that. That's the gist of it. So it's just piles and piles of documents, and then it gets reviewed by a jury, and you hope you get it.
Wow. And there's like a huge gaming scene up there in Canada too. Like a lot of folks I speak to are based out of, there's Montreal and Quebec, and then, there's Toronto, all over the place. Huge gaming scene over there.
No, it's great. And what's great about it is, and this goes for, I think, Quebec and BC as well, but in Ontario, it's just like the support for interactive digital media is great. There's an organization called Ontario Creates, and they're a provincial organization that helps fund interactive digital media projects. So we've worked with them for so long. They helped Dawn, get off the ground. And there's also like the Canada Media Fund. Like there's all these grants that Canadian game developers have access to that helps indie teams get off the ground and have a shot at it. Though there is a pretty solid history as well, like of game dev in Canada. Like in Toronto, a lot of the people who now run indie studios in Toronto used to work at Silicon Knights, right? And they used to work on the Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes or like Eternal Darkness. Yeah. So, a lot of these studios would either disband or move somewhere else, and then the developers are like, well, we still want to make games, so we'll just make them ourselves.
Man, Silicon Knights. I was just playing Twin Snakes over Thanksgiving break.
Really?
Holy hell, is that game weird. Like, I have a photographic memory of the PlayStation version of Metal Gear Solid, and then playing it on GameCube, it just like, this feels like a fan describing what happened in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Like a fever dream version.
Right, yeah.
And I love the cutscenes in that game.
They're indescribable.
Crazy. They're crazy.
I think
and those cutscenes
that game.
Yeah, those cutscenes were directed by a movie director who directed a Godzilla movie.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
It all comes full circle. Now, I do want to ask you, this game is specifically local co-op only, correct?
Yeah.
Explain. Why go this direction? Why make it so if you want to have a friend play this game with you, they got to come into your house and they got to clean and be presentable? And, I can't be a slob.
It's because we are reckless and think that screw lockdowns, play video games with friends. No, we really wanted to have online. We really did. It is just given when this project started, to retroactively put it in, we looked into it with Way Forward. It was just a huge amount of work. Right. So, I think that if the game does well, there's no reason that we can't. I don't know about patching it in, but like if we do a Dawn 2, I think that would be probably one of the first things we would want to look at is, hey, how do we make this work online? But the other thing that we made sure to do is, because we always from the start we said, okay, we're going to focus on making this a local experience. Is that okay? Even if you're playing by yourself, it has to be fun by yourself. Because when we made Rumbo, it was funny. We have the stats because like we announced Rumbo, and then all the YouTube comments were like, is this going to have online? I don't care unless it has online. I don't have friends. And someone literally said, I don't have any friends. We're like, oh, I'm so sorry.
It can't be real.
And then we added online and everyone was like, yay, we got online. And I think that we looked at the stats for it, and I think the total number of people who played online was like 9% of the people who bought it.
Wow. Talk about a vocal minority.
Well, that's the thing. It would surprise you to know that that's not unusual for that kind of game, and that's why we made a huge single player campaign, and of course the local multiplayer options.
Right.
Because like people, what I've discovered, especially in talking to other developers as well, people want to have online play. They don't want to use it always. Like even like Streets of Rage 4, a bunch of my friends bought that. None of them have played it online. They were glad that it had it.
Yeah.
They haven't played it online.
I've only played it locally with my siblings and my friends in the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's an example. So
interesting. Yeah, because I mean, listen, this kind of game I feel is the kind of game where I call up friends and say, hey, you gotta try this game out. Come over, we'll do a game night. We'll get some pizza, get some beers, and smash some shit. And any game that allows me to do that, I'm gonna celebrate. Because I feel like playing with a friend online, while it's fun, there's that disconnect.
Yeah.
And being in a room with them adds so much more fun factor to the experience.
It does. It's weird. I picked up the Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em up, the Capcom one, and it had online. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna play online. And I was just playing some random dude. I don't know who he was. I don't know. I ended up playing one round of online and then being like, nah, I'll just play it with like someone that I like who's within slapping distance. I also just love couch co-op, period, or couch multiplayer, period. So
yeah, I think to me, multiplayer, at least in an online sense, is what I equate games that I buy and never open. Like, it's a good idea in practice. Like, oh yeah, I'm so gonna enjoy this one day.
Yeah.
But it just sits in the cupboard with the shrink wrap until it's, oh, it's on sale digitally, or it's on PS Plus for free. Okay, I'll get it now, and then I'll play it when it's on my hard drive.
It's like board game syndrome, right? Where it's like,
oh my god, yes.
There are some video games that I almost treat like board games, and I buy them and I don't play them for months until I have people over, and we're like, no, like Dawn, you can play by yourself and you're still gonna have a fucking blast. Like it's not a. And we had to do it for Rumbo to convince people to buy Rumbo. Be like, hey, it's not just multiplayer. It's a good multiplayer experience. Like there's other stuff in there. Smash Bros does a great job of this, I think.
Yeah.
Nintendo in general does a great job of that. Like they'll be like, when you get Mario Kart, no matter how you play it, you're gonna have a good time.
I agree. So what's the roadmap here? The game is coming out next year. It's nearing completion. Are there discussions for other characters? I feel like a game like this, you have so many collaborative options ahead of you. How do you not just like be like, hey, can we get like your character in our game as like a cameo, as a huge ass monster?
I mean, we would love to. I actually like, so I'll just say that we would love to. The only real factor is like, hey, how well does the game do at launch? If it does well enough, then there's no reason that we can't just go hog wild.
Listen, this is why you use the way forward name. Let's twist some arms, grease some elbows, crack some skulls, break some kneecaps, whatever has to be done.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's something we would I think everyone would love to see.
What does a dream cameo look like for you? If you had it your way, who would you put in the game?
One character?
Yeah, give me a couple. Give me your top 5.
Oh, I mean, obviously, Godzilla is the number one. You can't not have Godzilla.
So which Godzilla iteration would you put in there? There's a lot of different Godzillas out there.
That's hard to say. That's really hard to say.
What look?
I always actually here. This is the Godzilla, the first Godzilla I ever got when I was a kid. This is the one.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
This started it all.
Oh my god, look at that! It's got the little red button in the middle.
Oh yeah, and the button on his chest.
Oh my god!
Cut off
I think
scissors.
I had that.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah. So part of me feels like here, you can see. I just got these from my mom. She sent them to me. That's me, like at like 6 years old with that same toy.
This is like your destiny.
This is my destiny.
That should be the box art. Right there.
Should include that in the physical version. Just a picture of a kid holding. What is this?
I'm telling you, that's like you print off a bunch, autograph it, boom, swag right there.
So part of me thinks that like Heisei Godzilla is super iconic. That's the
Mhm.
90s version. The new Godzilla also looks really cool. I like the newest design, the American, like the Legendary Pictures one.
Mhm.
But like my favorite Godzilla design is the one who fights Mecha Godzilla in the 70s. He's kind of cute looking.
Ooh, yes. It's something about the eyes in that one.
Yeah, the eyes are just great. They're so expressive.
Yeah,
They got so much emotion. And like he like boxes and he like dusts off his shoulders and he like squares up. I don't know. He's a
Is that the one that drop kicks too?
Yes.
It's-
He does the tail drop kick.
Yes.
The best move. The best fighting move I've ever seen.
What about that? What was the most recent one? That Shin Godzilla? Have you seen this one?
I love Shin.
That is, I've never felt actual horror and fear from a Godzilla film, but watching that movie, I was like, I'm a little uncomfortable watching this thing mutate and just destroy all of Tokyo. And there's like actual genuine horror in it.
Yeah, he's terrifying.
But it's
I'd love to see him in.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I would do it. Like I don't even know if
God,
he can't move very fast, but
that mouth, how it opens and the little tiny T-Rex arms.
And his tail's blasting around.
And this is a movie about nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, they could do a TED Talk about Shin Godzilla.
All right, so Godzilla, clearly that's one that
yeah.
you would pick. Who else is on that list of just any monster from cinema or video game?
I think after Godzilla, I would want to do Gamera.
Gamera, it's classic, yeah.
Gamera would have to be in there. Ultraman, the OG Ultraman, I would want in there. Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim.
Oh my God, yeah, okay.
Get that rocket punch action in there. And then maybe like I think an Ava unit would look really cool in our art style. You know, like Ava Unit 01 beat 'em up style. I think that would be really cool.
I think that, listen, when you make all your money from this game, I mean, it's going to be a lot. Trust me.
Yeah.
Just go into a full like Neon Evangelion title. Just make that your next your next project.
That would be fun. I would love to make like there's a lot of Evangelion games, but not a lot of them are like action games.
No, exactly. There aren't any. And I feel like that was made for an action genre.
Yeah.
It's all about beating up shit.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess it's also about like depression and anxiety and stuff.
Right.
But
and
if we just like push that stuff off to the side and just focus on like hey, giant robots and giant monsters.
Let's just remove the existential like crisis out of it, you know, and like what it means to be alive and all other stuff, and just focus on the actual monsters. It was like when I would pick up Zoids games, but they were just turn-based games. Like, why am I playing a turn-based Zoids game?
No,
I want to be in the mech fighting other mechs. That's why I want to. That's why I like Zoids.
Actually, there's a Zoids game on Switch that I picked up.
Oh yeah,
it's a fighting game, and I was like, "This is what a Zoids game should be: just a giant metal tiger beating up a giant metal dinosaur."
So you should also look into maybe some Power Rangers in there.
Ooh, having the Megazord.
Oh yeah,
that would be tight.
Yeah,
that would be.
Was it a Hasbro, Bandai? Who owns that shit now? I don't know anymore.
I think Hasbro.
Yeah,
well, I mean Hasbro owns Power Rangers. I guess Super Sentai is Toei, but I don't know how that works.
Mm-hmm. All right, Alex, you've spoken a lot about Godzilla and your game, but now we're gonna go into what makes you tick. What monster lives within Alex Rushdy? It is time for rapid fire. Alex, what is the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself?
The dumbest way I've ever injured myself. I've done some dumb stuff. Some very dumb stuff. The dumbest, that's a tough one. When I was, I don't know if I'd call this an injury.
Okay.
But when I was in summer camp as a kid. Maybe I was like 14. A friend of mine said he would give me $50 if I put Rugby 535 on my special area.
Okay. So
And
I'm
I
not sure what
decided
that
to do
product
that.
is. What is that exact product?
Rugby 535 is like like icy hot patches.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like, this is a great idea, and I get $50. And it was
it
not a great idea.
like a gel or like a
Yeah,
roll-on?
it's like a gel.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it starts off icy and then it gets hot.
Right.
So
$50.
50. Was that worth $50? I don't know.
I listen, how old were you?
I think it was like 14.
Yeah, that's like a fortune to a 14-year-old. I do it for $5.
That's true. I'd do it for $2.
I'll pay him to watch me do it. What which one of Godzilla's rivals? You know, he's fought so many over the years, monster wise. Which one do you think you most relate to? Like, you know, that Rodan and I were like soulmates. What monster do you think best captures your personality, your values?
You know, I've always liked geez, that's a tough one. Which one matches my personality?
Which one do you like? Your eyes light up when he comes on screen. Like, yeah, there's my guy. Like, you're rooting for Godzilla, but still, like, you like that one monster to win somehow in some other universe.
You know, I really like Titanosaurus from Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Yes.
I just think it's like a cool design, and like Titanosaurus didn't want to hurt anybody.
Didn't.
But was just coerced into combat.
Mm.
And but was actually like really strong and almost beat Godzilla. But yeah, I always liked Titanosaurus, and I always liked that element that, like, hey, it's something that doesn't want to fight, being forced into it.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes wild. He literally buries Godzilla and then stomps on him in the grave. Like, that's crazy. I'm into that.
If you were able to create your own insane monster for Godzilla to fight, because he's fought, you know, a lot of metaphors over the years for pollution, that smog monster. There was one, I think it was it Space Godzilla? It was actually a piece from another monster that went to space, and then space mutated. It came back with like crystals, some other shit. So what would you do if you're like, you know what, Alex, design for us a zany, like batshit crazy Godzilla foe? What does the backstory look like? What does it do?
The initial temptation, right? The thing that I think would be really neat to see, but like, it's not that original idea, would to see a Godzilla fight a Godzilla. Like I've never, like, why hasn't there been like an old asshole Godzilla versus a young plucky Godzilla? I think that would be really interesting to see. Or like Godzilla from another dimension, like this is the original 54 Godzilla versus like the 90s Godzilla. What happens?
Didn't one of the Tokyo Godzillas or the Japan ones fight the American version from the Matthew Broderick movie?
Yes, he did. I mean, he just hits him once and then he's done. But so maybe that's not a fully original idea. But
listen, but an actual fight, not just like as a goof. Like,
yeah. I think
look how pathetic this one is. Goes down to one punch.
But I'd also love to see something like a big snake, or like a naga or something.
Yes.
It's not like, I feel like King Kong has fought snakes.
Right.
Godzilla has never really gotten to do that. I think that could be kind of neat.
Interesting. I like that idea a lot. All right, so your game's out. It sells a bajillion copies. And you're like, looking online to buy some yachts. And there's a drink in your hand as you're yacht shopping. What is your beverage of choice? What is your alcoholic beverage of choice?
Well, I don't drink, so
Ooh.
it might not. I'm trying to think. What would it? Okay, right. If it was right now, it'd be a glass of eggnog because
Really?
I like eggnog.
All right. So it's eggnog. All right, Alex. You spend way too much
Yeah.
time yacht shopping and you've had a little bit too much eggnog.
Yeah. All right.
What word comes to mind to describe you when you've had too much eggnog to drink?
Bloated because I'm lactose intolerant, and that's in pain.
Oh, I think that's your Godzilla monster, right? There's some sort of like milk-based enemy made of like ice
dairy.
cream or some
Godzilla
shit.
versus dairy.
Yeah.
Godzilla is definitely lactose intolerant.
Oh,
I can tell you that. That's why he's angry.
Oh my god, I love it. It's just too good. I'm gonna ask you a question we ask every developer on this show. That is pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Without hesitation.
Mm-hmm. Let's say one of your closest colleagues gets a phone call in the middle of the day. It's the local Canadian police force, whatever you guys call it over there.
Yeah.
And it's
that's what we call it.
Yeah, we've just arrested Alex. What have you done? What is the crime you've committed?
What is the crime I'm most likely to commit?
Yes.
Say
it's burned down like a farm that produces milk.
I've probably smuggled something.
I go over a Dairy Queen. You smuggled something. What are you smuggling, Alex?
I feel like every time I go to an airport, I get in trouble for something in my bag. And like the last time I traveled, I forgot to take out my Swiss Army knife. I got in trouble for that. One time I had a bunch of t-shirts that I was giving out at like a Nintendo thing, and I got in trouble for that. And sometimes if I go down to Chicago, I'm bringing toys down.
Right.
And usually it's fine, but sometimes they can be like, why are you bringing so many toys down to Chicago? And I'm like, oh, these are Godzilla toys. It's a Godzilla convention. And they're like, you're a grown man. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, this sounds like, I'm totally being lied to right now.
Yeah.
What's in these toys, sir?
Yeah. Are these filled with drugs? And then they try to crack open one of the toys and I'd freak out. See, like, no, you know how much that costs?
But I think now if you were some sort of mastermind, you'd be like, that's it. The real drugs are in my ass.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't ruin the toys.
Yeah. I just flew back from Colorado, and twice I was stopped by the security, by the little x-ray machine thing. And they opened the bag up and they couldn't say why the machine was triggered. I was like, just for future reference, because I don't like doing this at all.
Yeah.
You take way too long with it. Is something there that I should be aware of? And they're like, I really can't tell you. I can't say. Well, that's helpful.
Wait, as in like they knew, but they couldn't tell you?
They just didn't want to tell me. Like, how these things are.
Why?
We really couldn't say. I'm like, great. You've been very, very useful to me. Jeez. It's like a good 10, 15 minutes of like, you can't touch the bag. You can't breathe near the bag. It's a whole thing. Oh boy. All right. Let's see what else we got here. What would you rather have, the ability to fly or to be invisible?
Oh, fly for sure.
It's
not very practical, but
well, listen, if you're gonna smuggle all those drugs,
yeah, it's an easy way to get over the border.
You just fly wherever you want to go. Where do you fly to first? Are you more of like a beach person, a nice beach setting, or someplace more like not as intense with people hanging around, where do you go? Where do you fly?
I mean,
Where's
right
Alex go?
now, I'm probably going to go to a warm beach is where I would fly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would also just, I feel like in Canada under normal like summer weather conditions, I would just go up into the national parks or something, just fly off there, get away from it all, get away from Toronto.
What is a body part that you wouldn't mind losing? So you have to lose one.
I have to lose a body
I have to
part.
lose one. I'm like, Alex, I'm cutting something off you. Like, all right, cut off this.
Cut off this.
What is the this? That I'm hacking off.
Nipples. They're vestigial, right? I don't need those.
On a dude, yeah. Still though, I'm thinking, yeah, sure.
Or is that cheating because it's too small? You want something with more meat on it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking like, a finger, a hand, an arm, a leg, a kneecap.
I mean, a finger is an easy one, right? Because you still have your hands. But
yeah, I think it's gonna be the whole hand.
Yeah, so I would probably do
that
like
substantial.
I don't know, a foot would probably be
a foot. Yeah,
if it's got to be like weight, like it can't be like an ear, like Van Gogh, then like a foot, 1 foot. Maybe I could still walk if I figure that out.
Oh yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of feet, you're getting dressed to go about your day.
Okay.
You're sitting down at your couch. You got a pair of socks by you and your shoes on the ground beside your feet. Do you put them on sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe?
Ooh, sock, shoe, shoe.
Okay.
Who does sock, shoe?
I will find them one day, Alex.
One day. Good luck.
I'm going to find the developer that's just that. I'm going to call the FBI as soon as the Zoom call ends. Yeah. Like, I got him.
We got him.
I found him. Whoever's on your wanted list.
Yeah.
I have a suspect. If you could work on any video game franchise that's been sort of dormant for a long time, and you're given the green light, like, make us a new Punch-Out, Alex. We trust you in every way. What would that franchise be? What would you pick?
Be F-Zero.
Holy shit. Do you hear that, Steven? That's what happens. Steven's a huge F-Zero fan. He's not here to hear this shit.
Ha. Steven and your stupid computer.
Yeah, why haven't we seen more of F-Zero? Is it because the Mario Kart sells so well, like 1 billion copies a day over there?
I'm guessing.
I really feel
I don't really know. I mean, I think that the series started to sell a little less, but like it was on, the last one was on the GameCube. The GameCube didn't sell well.
Right.
Give me a break, Nintendo. Make a new F-Zero.
I mean, here we are pondering a new F-Zero, but we're not going to get Mario Kart 9, I think, in the next 5 years.
Yeah, we're never getting that. They're just going to repackage Mario Kart 8 again.
When Mario Kart 8 sells as well as it does, it's like number 2 always on every single list in top 10 games. And the game's like, the deluxe version is over 4 years old at this point.
Yeah. I wish that I could just scream at everyone in the world and be like, stop buying Mario Kart 8.
Stop buying Grand Theft Auto 5. Stop buying
buying Skyrim.
Stop buying Skyrim.
Stop buying Resident Evil 4. I guess Resident Evil 4, like they still make a 5. Like Capcom will resell 4, but they'll make a 5, 6, 7.
Right, exactly.
But like
they'll repackage
stop buying Mario Kart 8. If you like Mario Kart, my God, stop buying it. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll never get a new one. So.
God, I love it. That's a good message. If you like Mario Kart, stop buying it.
Yeah, stop buying it.
That is a very inspirational quote. I love it. I think it's a great place to end. Alex, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. The game looks incredible. It is, again, it's a kid version of me, wet dream come to life. I really can't put it any other way. Nothing beats monsters beating up other monsters. It's like when you were playing with your toys as a kid, just in a video game. That's what it is. So thank you so much for making all of our dreams come true. Thank you. Where can we follow you and 13 a.m. games? Give us the whole Twitter, social media
Whole
spiel.
spiel.
Give me all that shit.
So I'm on Twitter at Goji_guy. 13am is on Twitter at 13am games. There's also our website, 13amgames.com, that has more stuff about Dawn of the Monsters, the trailer, and screenshots and whatnot. And then I also run a company called Seismic, and we make toys, and we made Dawn of the Monsters toys. So if you look up Seismic Toys on Instagram or seismictoys.com, you can follow me there.
Yeah, I was wondering because I had the Seismic link in here, and I'm like, is that them? I guess I know it is you. I'm like, oh, how are they making toys so fast? And now I know.
We made them well before the game was even close to finished, and they surprisingly sold well. People wanted toys immediately.
Yo, I am buying these things day one, telling you right now. Well, thank you, Alex. This has been an absolute blast speaking to you this week. The game, again, Dawn of the Monsters, out 2022. It can't come soon enough. And since Steven came and gave us his little sign-off line before, I'm going to end this week with a quote from Godzilla. It applies to us all. Okay? And that is, sometimes the only way to heal our wounds is to make peace with the demons who created them. Or I could say this, Admiral, we must keep our faith in Gojira.
Amen.
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 All right, guys.
Maybe there's a little Godzilla inside each one of us.
Yeah, inside us all. There's a little God, you ever watch the cartoon Godzuki?
Yes. There's definitely a Godzuki inside me.
I think I'm just like Godzuki in the grown man's flesh. All right. And with that, we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. And as always, please be excellent to each other.